Hey everyone, it's your boy Jay. Welcome to another episode of Journeys with Jay. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoyed the journey with me today. If you're not, thanks so much for tagging along with me once again. In today's journey, we're diving into how a single cable under the sea rewired the world, sparked the first global network, and changed communication forever. Let's plug into the story of the transatlantic telegraph cable, the original World Wide Web. In today's episode, we continue to explore the Information Age Gallery at the London Science Museum. Click on the link above to see other videos that I have done on this gallery. 6 networks that changed our world. Our messages, from the mundane to the memorable, can be counted, compressed, and reduced to fundamental bits. This is information. The gallery tells the story of 200 years of information and telecommunication networks. Across 6 networks, it reveals the hidden infrastructure and devices that have allowed us to send more information further and faster than ever before. In today's journey, we explore part 1 of the cable network. Today, instant global communication is made possible by copper and fiber optic cables carrying data underground and under the ocean between land masses. These cables make the global internet possible, but we have relied on seafloor cables for long-distance communication for over 150 years. Let's have a look back at how this came to be. By the early 1850s, telegraph networks had connected most cities and towns on either side of the Atlantic Ocean, but wanted to send a letter or information to and from North America, to and from Europe, you had to rely on letters that could take days to weeks. Telegraph networks sent information from point to point in the form of electrical pulses. The telegraph could send information at high speed over long distances, giving rise to the first global communication network and radically shrinking our world. Its impact on society was every bit as significant as the development of later information networks such as the internet. Charles Wheatstone preferred telegraph systems that did not require specialist knowledge of a code. He developed a printer for his ABC system as early as 1841. Probably the world's first electrical printing machine. In 1843, William Cooke installed an electric telegraph alongside the Great Western Railway between Paddington and Slough. On the 1st of January 1845, this instrument sent a message declaring that suspected murderer William Towell boarded a train. Towell was later arrested and hanged. A practical electric telegraph was first demonstrated in London in 1837. Telegraph and railway networks spread in parallel, bringing the need for a commonly agreed time reference. From the 1850s, time signals sent from Greenwich were used to set clocks all over Britain. By 1884, 1-hour time zones were agreed for the globe, hence the birth of Greenwich Mean Time. The Hughes telegraph was the first to combine an alphabetical keyboard for sending with a printer for receiving messages in plain text. These features later became standard on teleprinters and personal computers. It was developed by David Hughes during the 1850s and was so successful it made him a great deal of money. So a solution for sending information quickly between Europe and North America would be laying a seafloor cable. Laying a cable across the Atlantic Ocean would be costly and difficult. The shortest distance between Ireland and Canada was over 2,000 nautical miles. Cyrus Westfield, a rich New York paper manufacturer, had the personality, connections, energy, vision, and funds to lead in solving this challenge. By 1856, Cypress Fields had set up the Atlantic Telegraph Company, with investors including both businessmen and the US and British governments. One of Field's supporters was British mathematician and engineer William Thomson. He developed an instrument called a mirror galvanometer that could detect and display weak signals from undersea cables. Thomson had a deep understanding about the behavior of electrical signals in long underwater cables. He is quoted as having said, quote, "This line of metal stretching away 2,000 miles under the Atlantic must convey the subtle influence. Touch our European end, a magnet instantaneously move in America," end quote. Field promised investors that the company would lay the cable by the end of 1857. The plan was to load half of the cable onto each of two ships and join the two lengths together while at sea. The first attempt ended in failure. The cable broke within a day of leaving Ireland, and there was not enough left to try again. The manufacturers made more cable, and in 1858 the two boats sailed to the middle of the Atlantic. There they joined the cables and each set off for their home shores, laying out the cable as they went. This map gives an idea of where the cable was laid across the Atlantic Ocean. At the bottom of the map shows the topography of the ocean floor. At the second attempt, the boat successfully reached Ireland and Newfoundland in Canada on the 5th of August 1858. Engineers made the first test. The cable worked as expected, and they successfully sent and received signals both ways. The President of the United States, James Buchanan, and Queen Victoria became the first heads of states to exchange messages via the transatlantic cable. The Saturday Review of the 7th of August 1858 wrote, "The old and new worlds are brought into instantaneous communication." Fields and his backers had demonstrated that transatlantic telegraphy could reduce the time taken to communicate between Europe and the USA from a few weeks to less than a day. The implications for business were profound. Despite the success of laying the cable, it was far from ready to handle the traffic the business community was so eager to send. Even using Thomson's sensitive mirror galvanometer, each letter took a painfully long time to send and receive. As mentioned earlier, Queen Victoria joined in public rejoicing when 2,300 nautical miles of submarine cable linked Europe with America in 1858. But this joy turned to disappointment when the cable failed 3 weeks later. It took 8 more years of research and investment before telegraph signals could at last cross the Atlantic. So what happened? The company's chief electrician, Wildman Whitehouse, tried to improve the signal by increasing the voltage. The cable's insulation failed and it ceased to transmit. As mentioned earlier, Field was not one to give up easily. He set up a new company in 1864, chaired by engineer Daniel Goop of the Great Western Railway, and raised the money to manufacture and improve the cable. The company also bought the steamship Great Eastern, then the largest ship afloat, and converted it to lay cables. By May 1865, 2,600 miles of new cable were ready. The Great Eastern sailed from Ireland westward, carrying the full length of cable. More than halfway through the journey, the cable snapped and was lost on the ocean floor. On July 27, 1866, they sailed once again and reached Newfoundland, Canada. This time, the cable's insulation held out, and the transatlantic link was established. On the 9th of August, the steamship set sail again for the point in the Atlantic where the cable had broken the previous year, which the crew had marked with a buoy. After over 2 weeks of trying, at the end of August, they finally managed to hook the end of the cable successfully and bring it on board. On Sunday, 2nd of September 1866, they attempted to call Ireland. An answering signal arrived from Ireland. The crew celebrated their amazing feat. The engineers spliced new cable to the end, and the Great Eastern steamed back to Canada. The 1866 expedition saved the investment in the 1865 cable, as well as doubling the capacity for signal traffic across the Atlantic. In a matter of years, long-distance submarine cables linked continents and islands, and in 1902, a telegraph cable from Canada to New Zealand completed a network that encircled the globe. Fast, global communication had finally arrived. This globe on display in the museum shows the cable routes between 1865 and 1970. Although technology has advanced in unimaginable ways compared to the 1900s, the undersea cables that carry our bytes of data and internet today are laid in much the same way as the first Victorian telegraph cables. The difference is that today's fiber optic cables can now transmit billions of words per second, allowing a speed of connection that Field, Thomson, and their colleagues could only have dreamed of. Displayed in the next few slides are diagrams showing the location of submarine cables connecting the world and the Caribbean region. This diagram by MiddleEastEye.net shows how fiber optic cables connect the world. We're all familiar with cyber attacks, but experts have been warning that the risk of attacks to undersea cables is increasing. A July 2025 report warns that the risk of undersea cable attacks is likely to rise due to threats by China and Russia. This diagram shows possible ways that Russia and China could attack undersea cables. According to a report from Recorded Future, there were 44 cable damages identified over the last 18 months. A quarter of these were caused by anchor dragging, a third by unknown causes, with seismic activity or natural phenomena causing 60% of recorded incidents. consequences of damage to undersea assets can incur costs of billions of dollars, with the greatest risk occurring in areas that rely on a single subsea cable. Undersea cables are hidden, but increasingly vital enablers of the global economy that most people take for granted. Everyday business activities, such as sending and receiving emails, making video calls, transmitting messages, and transferring money, rely on the services provided by telecommunication cables that traverse the floors of the world's seas and oceans. Thanks so much for joining me in this episode. We had a brief look back some 150 years to the beginning of undersea cabling, which laid the foundation for high-speed global data communication. If you enjoyed the episode, click the like button and leave a comment to share your thoughts. Until next time, keep safe, God bless, is your boy Saint J, out of here.